All right, let's dive into a truly wild story. It's a case about a relationship ending, assets being divided, but with a crazy twist. What if one person claims the relationship actually ended over a decade ago? Today, we're unpacking a story of love, a massive lie, and how a single tiny social media comment brought an 11-year deception completely crashing down. At the heart of it all is one question: what really defines a relationship?
So imagine this for a second. You've spent 14 years of your life with someone. You've raised 2 kids, you've built a home, a life. Then, when it's all over, your partner doesn't just walk away. They try to literally erase the last 11 years of your life together, telling a judge you were nothing more than a roommate. It's a shocking claim, and it's the absolute core of this case.
So, let's meet the people at the center of this storm. We have Miss Jarrow, who believes she was in a 14-year partnership, and Mr. Manard, who, by the way, controlled almost all of their assets. When she finally took him to court to get her fair share, his defense wasn't just a simple denial. Oh no, it was a full-blown attempt to rewrite their entire history. And here's the bombshell claim. Mr. Manard's argument was just staggering. He told the court that, yeah, they lived together for 11 years, they went to family parties, they raised their kids under one roof, but it was all just an act. In his telling of the story, he wasn't her partner. He was basically a charitable landlord, just letting her stick around for the kids' sake. So why would he make such a radical claim? Well, it all comes down to a very specific and very critical piece of Australian law. See, you have to file a property claim within 2 years of breaking up. So if he could convince the judge they actually separated way back in 2006, then her lawsuit was 9 years too late. The court wouldn't even have the power to hear the case, and she would walk away with absolutely nothing from those 11 years. The entire case, everything, hinged on one single question: when did they really break up? So what happened next was this incredible courtroom showdown. It was built on two completely opposite realities. The judge had to sift through a decade of memories, text messages, and stories to figure out who was telling the truth and who was lying. And this right here lays it out perfectly. It's a tale of two timelines. You've got Miss Jarrow's story, a simple, continuous 14-year relationship, and then you have Mr. Manard's story, which has a giant 11-year hole right in the middle of it. And that gap, that wasn't just a disagreement over dates. It was a fundamental battle over what their life together actually was. Now, to prove her side of the story, Miss Jarrow brought a mountain of evidence. Her family and friends all testified. Yep, they were always a couple. A police report from 2011, smack in the middle of this supposed roommate period, listed them as being in a relationship. There were bank records showing she gave him cash, intimate texts, social media posts, and even another police report that mentioned an engagement ring. It all painted a very clear picture of a continuous, even if it was rocky, partnership. But Mr. Manard had an ace up his sleeve, a pretty powerful one, actually. He revealed that Miss Jarrow had, for years, told the government she was a single mother so she could claim welfare benefits. This was a really calculated move. His argument was simple and pretty devastating. If she lied to the government for money, why should the judge believe she isn't lying now for a much, much bigger payday? So the whole case was just balanced on a knife's edge. Who do you believe? The woman who admits she lied for financial gain, or the man with a story that sounds almost too crazy to be true? Well, it would all come down to two small pieces of digital evidence that completely unraveled everything for him. Okay, so here's the first piece of bombshell evidence. It's a Facebook post. There's a photo of the two of them together, looking like a couple. A friend comments, saying something nice about Miss Jarrow, and Mr. Manard himself replies with two simple words: hot wife. Seems like case closed, right? But his explanation? Well, it was something else. Get this. He claimed it was a typo. A typo. His phone, he argued, must have made a mistake. He didn't mean to write hot wife. He meant to write not wife. Yeah, just a one-letter slip-up that just so happens to completely change the entire meaning. I mean, what an absolutely audacious defense. And if that hot wife comment left any room for doubt, this text message was the final nail in the coffin. He sent her a message talking about their future, and he wrote, "It is time to have everything we should have had." That one little word, we, it directly torpedoed his entire "we're just roommates" story. So what was his excuse for this one?
autocorrect. He actually claimed he meant to type you, but his phone changed it to we. The judge was not buying it. Not at all. He called his excuses implausible and an opportunistic manufacture, which is basically judge speak for, you made these lies up on the spot, and they're terrible.
So you've got these conflicting stories, these digital smoking guns. How did the judge make the final call? Well, it wasn't just about the facts anymore. It was about who was credible. He had to decide not just what happened, but whose entire version of reality he actually believed. And the judge's assessment of Mr. Manard was absolutely brutal. He said his evidence was, at best, disingenuous, maybe even totally unbelievable. And he said it was implausible and smacked of recent invention. I mean, those are incredibly strong words to hear from a judge. It's about as close as you can get to being called a liar in open court.
Now, on the other hand, look at what he said about Miss Jarrow. He found her to be a credible witness. He absolutely acknowledged her past welfare fraud, but he found her story, that she did it because Mr. Manard was controlling her, to be believable. The key thing was her story stayed consistent. It was balanced. At the end of the day, her flawed truth was just so much more powerful than his perfect lie.
So, to make his official ruling, the judge used the legal test for what's called a de facto relationship. It's basically a checklist in Australian law that helps determine if two people are living together like a married couple on a real, genuine domestic basis.
And this is exactly how the judge dismantled Mr. Manard's argument, piece by piece, using that legal test. Step 1, how long were they together? Nearly 14 years. Step 2, did they live together? Yep. Step 3, were their finances mixed? Yes, she helped with the house deposit. Step 4, was there a mutual commitment? Well, his own texts prove that. And step 5, how did the public see them? Everyone thought they were a couple. Against all this evidence, his roommate's story just completely fell apart.
Now, this case is way more than just a juicy story. It is packed with some really powerful lessons that honestly apply to all of us, whether we're in a relationship or not.
And first, let's talk about consequences. The result of his lies wasn't just losing the case. The judge hit him with a pretty rare penalty, ordering him to pay $25,000 of Miss Jarrow's legal fees. And he did that specifically because his arguments were so unbelievable and so clearly fabricated. That's a huge deal in family court where people usually have to pay their own way.
So what can we all take away from this incredible story? First, as Mr. Manard learned the hard way, honesty is your single most valuable asset in a courtroom. Second, just like Miss Jarrow showed us, a flawed truth is always going to be more persuasive than a perfect lie. Third, your digital footprint, your texts, your posts, that is the witness that never ever forgets. Fourth, for anything important financially, create a paper trail. And finally, the court made it clear, non-financial contributions, like raising kids, have real, tangible value in the eyes of the law.
And that leaves us all with one final, pretty crucial question to think about. If a judge had to piece together your life, just from your texts, your emails, and your social media, what story would it tell? What reality would it prove? Something to think about, for sure.